Over the years, the Bach Chaconne for unaccompanied violin has become a signature work for you. What does the Chaconne mean to you, and what are the problems in sustaining the mood of this very profound piece of music?
Bach was the foundation of everything that is music. I would say that the Chaconne is possibly one of the greatest of masterpieces ever composed. To me, every note, every phrase sends a message of a different kind. There is a lot of religion in it, a lot of spiritual, intimate content, which is very difficult to bring out. But my main road to playing the Chaconne is to express the actual recitation. To me, the whole Chaconne is like a narrative of everything that is going on in life. From the very beginning of it, which is like a statement, a trumpet declaring something that is tremendously eventful going to take place. After this initial statement comes the personal recitation of a human being, which portrays all of life from the beginning to the end, which is in a very minor key, of course, minor key, which depicts to me the demise of the human being. To sustain the mood is unlike some of my colleagues who again think that in order to perform this properly, you have to display their own, in a sense, self-indulgent personality. I look at it in a completely different aspect. There is the pulse, which in my opinion should never waver. It's like a heartbeat of the human being. And my concept of it is to maintain and sustain the tempo from the initial note until the very end, and to control the tempo. Obviously, we all have a personality of our own, so that everyone will interpret it differently. That's obvious. But my concept is to try and be as faithful to what I see in the score, which means to do exactly what is in it. The main concern that I have is to control everything, which stems, of course, from the rhythm of it and the pulse. This is the actual difficulty, never to be influenced by what is going on within you, but only to be influenced by what is in the score. The unfortunate thing is that we have hands and a body and arms, and sometimes it's not very easy to sustain all the notes, the length of the notes, to resist any temptation to change the tempo. This is the main difficulty. I'm not sure whether some of my colleagues see what is in it, whether they are not interested, but this is what interests me. I almost call myself a masochist, because it is such a tremendous effort to not waver and not to allow myself to be motivated or influenced by anything that relates to the body. It's an intellectual exercise. So this is the problem with Bach Chaconne. Mainly to do everything within the frame of it and to maintain the tempo, which should never, never have any bearing nor any influence outside of it. On top of that, to me, every phrase is like a revelation of what is inside the human spirit, who was Bach, obviously, and it's all tears, or most of it. When I'm on my own, in my house, playing to myself, I don't think that there was a time when I played this Chaconne without tears running down my cheeks. I doubt that it ever happened. I'm moved every single time, again and again and again. It just never stops.
The Chausson poem is another repertoire staple of yours. Most of us know it in the arrangement for violin and orchestra. Do you feel that the music works differently for violin and piano? And if so, how would you describe that difference?
Well, first of all, if I may, I would like to go a little back into the past. Again, I have to mention the name of my teacher, Karl Flesch. One day, I found myself outside his studio. The door was closed, and I heard violin playing. I listened behind the door. I was maybe then also the same age, about 8 or 9, with my father, and I heard this incredibly melancholy piece which reached me beyond belief, right into the soul. By the way, it was played very badly by a student of Karl Flesch, and I said, oh my God, what a disaster that this person is allowed to play this piece when I should be playing it. It's so wonderful. Then I made a comment to my father, Daddy, I need this music right away. Let's go and buy this music by the poem Chausson. And so it happened. My father said, okay, we'll go to the store and get the music for you. I began to play it, and I said, my God, this was composed for me. I felt this connection with the tragic language and the despair of this man, the composer, Chausson, who actually was a very melancholy and, I think, a very depressed human being. And it is all in it. So the Chausson poem has a very, very special meaning for me. And actually, I try to play it at every opportunity. To come back to the question, why I play it with piano rather than with orchestra. I had some experiences when I played it with orchestra, and that was not very satisfactory. I would imagine maybe I was not lucky enough to play with a great, great major orchestra, because there are lots of strings in it, and you have to have an orchestra which could do justice to it. You have to have wonderful musicians, marvelous, maybe virtuosi, who can play and do justice to this fantastic theme which is in it. So I made a decision. I would rather perform it with a first-class pianist who can, with the sound, manipulate with the dynamics to make it almost like an orchestral sound. And I would leave the orchestra out of it, unless if I knew that I'm going to have one of the great orchestras and make it sound like a chamber music experience. Then, of course, I would be happy to play with orchestra. But so far, I have not had that luck. I'm very, very pleased to play it with piano accompaniment.